British like to invent rules that you have to just remember because you love the Queen.
Yeah, British, they have different words like defense. They spell,
yeah, with this S instead of a C.
Yeah.
Or defense, or they use S's instead of Z's a lot.
All right, buddy. I'm Chris Champion. He's Hartej. He's stuck in a Bitcoin mining rig in Ukraine. That is true. Probably mining some XMR right now, some Monero. Hartej, how's Ukraine?
Monero on this side, Bitcoin on this side.
Monero is what Satoshi wanted Bitcoin to be. I actually always believe that.
Controversial. I do think Monero does a better job with privacy than Bitcoin. And that's a part of the debate here of like, will the hacker convert all the Bitcoin that they were able to steal, all $118,000, which is not that much? How are they actually gonna wash it or clean it? And there's a lot of ways. Maybe they'll convert it to Monero. Maybe they'll use like a Wasabi wallet, Samurai wallet. There's a bunch of ways they could pretty much get away with this. The thing is, they could have got away with a lot more. That's the interesting thing about this. They could have got away with a significant amount more of damage. They could have made money on the stock market manipulating. They could have made money on a lot of things. And I mean, not to think like a immoral hacker, but yeah, if I were to do this, I would have, you could have walked away with a lot more money, basically. And it was pretty much, I think it was very American focused hack.
It was definitely American focused. And it was actually, I think it was focused politically too.
I think that there was a geopolitical angle to it. They, Jeff Epstein and different, like Jeff Epstein's Twitter got hacked, said I'm not dead, or I didn't kill myself or something like that. So there definitely could have been.
He clearly did not kill himself. There's zero possibility he hung himself.
Yeah. Well, we won't go down the conspiracy theory route right now, because in that case, if we want to go down that route, it's also a countdown till Ghislaine Maxwell kills herself.
Probably. I mean, let's be honest.
Either that, or she's going to get COVID, and it's going to be a really bad case of COVID, like yeah, exactly.
It's, I will say Chrissy Teigen's a little bit nervous about Ghislaine. She's worried about those thumb drives that she's been talking to the FBI about.
Yeah. If I was her, I would make a bunch of videos and say, don't believe anyone if I kill myself. Or if they tell you I killed myself. I'd have videos watching me all the time.
They had that in New York with Jeffrey Epstein, but just for that half hour, they accidentally broke. Funny how that happened.
Yeah. The first account they hacked was actually Binance, and then after that they went, I believe, into Gemini and Coinbase, and I don't think they were getting enough. They weren't getting enough crypto.
No.
They did Binance first. Binance was first.
They may have done the first tweet on Binance, but what they did was they got access through 2 employees. They got access to the admin panel at a very high level, and they had access to everyone's account. So that
I get it, but they did Binance first, though, at least publicly. I believe that they spearphished multiple employees. Is it released that it was only 2?
It was 2, and they had access to the admin panel for 12 hours before they released the first tweet. So yeah. I actually think that the Bitcoin scam was a diversion. I don't think they were really after a large sum of Bitcoin.
So what were they after?
If you've got access to downloading direct messages from Warren Buffett, Elon Musk, Jeff Bezos, and Joseph Biden. Here's the interesting thing. They didn't go into Donald Trump's account. 84 million people. Imagine the DMs in that account.
Yeah.
So they had 12 hours before they released the first tweet to download a ton of data.
Yeah. Where's Kim.com? Is he joining us?
Haven't heard from him, so I think if he joins us, we'll be able to add him fairly easily.
Cool.
So what do you think will be the result of this hack in terms of Twitter? Will they get a class action lawsuit?
Doubt it. I think Twitter's just going to do a very thorough job to make sure they find out how this happened, who got hacked, how, and how they're going to avoid it in the future. I mean, I think this was a spear phishing attack, and that's pretty much the #1 way every cryptocurrency exchange is being hacked as well.
So for everyone that doesn't understand the term, explain spear phishing.
Spear phishing essentially is opening up or clicking a PDF that wasn't meant to be opened up. And upon opening up a PDF that was sent by a malicious actor, the hacker gains access to your computer, your desktop. And the hacker is able to move your mouse and monitor your keystrokes. Usually spear phishing attacks are a step-by-step way to gain access to an entire system. So they first spear phish you, then they monitor your keystrokes, then they gain access to maybe your email, followed by some other servers you have access to. And so it's usually a multi-hour, if not a multi-day process of gaining access to an entire company's inside system, all done by an employee not following proper cybersecurity training procedures. And a lot of companies have a tough time keeping all of their employees trained well enough to not open up the wrong PDFs and to follow pretty fundamental InfoSec practices. And it's not the employees' fault completely, but hackers are getting more and more creative. They're sending you PDFs with your name, or the name of the PDF is your password that you've actually used in the past. And so you recognize the password as a PDF, and so you assume this probably has something to do with me. It's my own password that I've been using for a few years. And so the hackers have definitely gotten much more sophisticated in getting people to open up emails and to phish them.
I talked to somebody earlier today that thought that this had been something that had been set up over the course of probably 2 weeks. What do you think?
Could be even more. We have no idea, but this was highly sophisticated. They had access to the same servers that some of the most senior engineers at Twitter do. And that admin panel is a server that actually gives backdoor access to everybody's account in the case of an emergency. These Twitter admins have the power to go into everybody's account. And I imagine the internal security procedures that Twitter had, at least what I imagine, it's a complete guess. I would imagine that they had some pretty thorough procedures already set up. I don't think this was something that Twitter was very irresponsible and they had no system set up in-house. I imagine they actually.
Did you see the screenshot the hackers have been posting of the admin panel that they had access to?
Yeah, and I also saw, did you also see their notes about Monero that came back from the, like how
No.
they're,
What'd they say?
I'll show you.
Did you see the email address to the domain name that they put?
Yeah.
It insinuated that they were somehow either affiliated with or wanted to go after Mike Bloomberg. Mikey.
Interesting. Yeah, but there was hidden Monero messages. There was a hidden Monero message that said, quote, "Just read all transaction outputs as text. You take risk when you use Bitcoin. For your Twitter game, Bitcoin is traceable. Why not Monero?" On a side note, it says, "You take risk when you use Bitcoin." So I think on that sentence, there's a little bit of a clue that there's a high likelihood that whoever wrote this and whoever did the hack doesn't have the best English, because grammatically, you take risk when use Bitcoin is not proper English.
All right, do me a
So-
favor, read that again, only with a Russian accent.
Just read all. Transaction outputs as text. You take risk when use Bitcoin. For your Twitter game, Bitcoin is traceable. Why not Monero?
So
Давай.
Mike Cernovich made a good point.
I'm allowed to do
This-
that, by the way. I'm in Ukraine right now, just so the users know. My wife is Ukrainian, and so I'm allowed to do this accent. My kids are half Ukrainian, half Punjabi. Not racist. I love Eastern Europeans, and I love Russians as well. I don't care about politics. I mean, no offense to any Russians or Eastern Europeans that just heard my Russian impression of that sentence. I love everybody.
It had a little bit of a Russian feel, if you ask me.
Oh, that was Russian. Moscow. Давай, здравствуйте.
So Mike Cernovich made a really good point. This was an enterprise level hack. They reached a top 10 employee within Twitter, according to some of his sources. And he thinks that this type of hack is a precursor to some things that'll happen leading up to the election. If who has most to gain from a hack like this from an enterprise level? Russia, China? North Korea, maybe?
I don't know. I feel like there's speculation. I really just don't know.
That's what this is all about, is speculation. Nobody knows anything.
My bigger problem with this whole situation is the media referring to these hackers as Bitcoin hackers, and the media having a whole adding to their whole rhetoric of Bitcoin being something only used for stealing and for drugs and for immoral behavior, and for the media to take that rhetoric, I think is silly.
Maybe it's somebody
this was not a flaw in Bitcoin. This was a flaw with security standards at Twitter corporate. Do
you think Bitcoin will politically take a hit because of this?
Not with people who actually know what it is.
How many politicians actually know what it is? Let me count on one finger, and that's probably a lucky one.
I don't think I know any Monero user that would have given Monero to this. In fact, I know no one would. The people who have Bitcoin are far more susceptible to this type of silly hack, because, well, even I have uncles who can't use their cell phone, and they're in their 70s, but they own some Bitcoin, right? And so there's a lot more gullible people, numbers wise, that don't know much about security, don't know much about in this modern world of tech, and they have some Bitcoin. So overall, yeah, it's safe to say people who own Bitcoin are statistically a little more gullible than someone who owns Monero.
So what I was saying is, do you think that Bitcoin politically, like politicians will come out and try and create laws or challenge Bitcoin's legitimacy? Because what you're starting to see is there's some reporters out there that are writing articles that say, why isn't Bitcoin illegal? If there was no Bitcoin, this hack would never happen. And it's kind of crazy because it almost is as if the hackers, in a indirect way, have created a political attack against Bitcoin.
Yeah, I mean, I think the war is much more against privacy coins right now and not Bitcoin. It's been exactly 1 month since Japan announced that they are banning all major privacy coins from all of their exchanges. So it was June 18th that Japan banned Zcash and Monero and several other privacy coins. Yeah, I love Monero. I love it. I love Monero. I love Zcash. I love Horizon. I love Verge. I love Komodo. It's a fork of Zcash. KMD, by the way.
People don't realize that Satoshi's biggest goal with Bitcoin was to create privacy. And at some point, that no longer became a big concern.
I agree. And on that note, I think it's important for people to read this book called Satoshi's Notes, which it's a compilation of all of Satoshi Nakamoto's notes. And in that book, it really highlights what his views were. How did Satoshi Nakamoto, this anonymous entity, actually believe about peer-to-peer transactions, and what was his vision? And a lot of people, they got into cryptocurrency during the ICO boom, and they were introduced to it by a friend who said, hey, like, put some money here, you'll make money. And that was the introduction to cryptocurrency. They didn't sit down with a friend and learn what is Bitcoin, or read a book about it, or read this Bitcoin white paper, or watch some videos from Andreas Antonopoulos, or read Nick Szabo's essays. None of those things were the normal for a lot of people who got in when we were living in just shitcoin bill. Not saying every coin was a shitcoin, but yeah, there was a lot of shitcoins that were built as ERC20 tokens on the Ethereum network. And during 2016, 17, 18, that was a time when a lot of people got into this space, numbers wise, without understanding or respecting Bitcoin or Satoshi Nakamoto. And so, yeah, once again, read Satoshi's notes. That's the key. And it's important for people to understand the theory behind this whole space, why certain people in it, why we're so passionate about being in it. A lot of it is that we have internalized Satoshi's vision. And Satoshi's vision doesn't necessarily mean that you're a diehard only a Bitcoin fan. It's about the philosophy.
So do you think an enterprise group was behind this hack, or do you think it was just a bunch of rogue hackers hoping to make some BTC?
Whoever it was, they were highly, highly sophisticated. This was
Super
properly
talented.
planned, super talented, highly, well planned and well organized. There could have been all kinds of motives.
They targeted the right employees, and they somehow got in their email box with something that was good enough to be opened.
Smart,
that
very smart.
Requires some level of intelligence.
Yeah, it does. Very, very much. Hackers are smart.
It's not like you can go to LinkedIn and figure out who's a top 10 employee that has admin access and they'll go, okay, let me email that guy something.
Yeah.
So let's say it was an enterprise hack. Let's say it was an enterprise that had tremendous resources in the intelligence community and tremendous resources with talented hackers that could pull this off. What do you think their goal was?
It's a good question. One goal, I think, is to prove that they're capable of doing this. I think that it's to prove to the world what is capable, right? A lot of times hackers will hack into something, breach it, and then a week or two later, they return the funds, right? Like for all we...
I don't think anybody's returning the funds on this one.
There's not that many funds to return. No one cares about $118,000.
If they got away with like 18 or 20 million, I'd say there might be a chance.
That'd be a difference.
They're so small, the funds, that I just don't think, I think their costs to operate this hack are probably what they got. Yeah,
but they've proven what is possible on Twitter as a platform, right? Like let's analyze it from that angle of what have they successfully proven, right? They've proven that this is possible. They've proven that Twitter is breachable. They've proven that they have this power, and that is interesting. And that's like how I see it, that it is interesting that this is possible. And they also, I think that they can't be, in my opinion, I don't think that they're stupid enough to pull off such a sophisticated attack and then ask for or successfully get such little amounts of money. It
See,
makes
that's
me
why.
feel, it makes me feel suspicious that maybe this was just to prove a point. This was to say certain things. Maybe there was geopolitical backing, some motives, some geopolitical motives. Maybe there
So
was
it's
some,
funny.
yeah, some more specific motives. If they wanted to become millionaires, they could have become millionaires off of this.
Yeah. So if you look at it, here's the hack that everyone's talking about in the media. Here's the hack, but somewhere behind the scenes, this is the real goal. That definitely was not to get $120,000 worth of Bitcoin. There had to
Is that
be
beard bomb? Is that beard bomb as your hack you got over there?
That's my beard bomb. You know, when you get those gray ones that just ping out to the right, and you're like, let me get that thing down.
I know.
You
got to grow an actual beard so you could use your bomb.
You know, I've tried that shit. I'll be honest with you. That shit just, it doesn't work.
You got to shampoo it, you got to condition it, and then you got to go to Lush and get some R&B.
What's R&B?
R&B is like this leave-in conditioner from Lush that I put in my beard. So after I shampoo, after I condition,
is Lush the place that has like really, really fancy soaps and stuff?
Yeah, it's great.
Oh, I didn't even know.
Unisex. It's so cool.
All right, shout out to not our sponsor, Lush. So
yeah, shout out to not our sponsor, Lush. I don't work for Lush. I just am a fan of the R&B.
I think that's the Lush mining rig back there that's mining a little Bitcoin. So
that one.
So we've touched upon that this might have been an enterprise level hack, which, let's be honest, this hack required a level of intelligence that I think makes it look like an enterprise level hack.
Or state level.
Well, when I say enterprise, it could be like enterprise, like state level, meaning, you know, KGB or China intelligence or even US intelligence, who knows? I mean, there's so much that happens in this world that we don't know about. There's so many things that happen. But when something like this happens, 119 days away from the US election, and you see the accounts that were compromised, you gotta believe that this was a hack that was designed to do more than just get $120,000 in Bitcoin. There has to be a story behind this. And I'm almost sure this is not the last we're gonna hear of this. I'm almost sure there's gonna be little drips and drabs. Because remember, in 2016, what was the big thing that happened then? WikiLeaks. Every single week, there would be drips and drabs of intelligence that was distributed from that server that Hillary Clinton had, who everyone swore there was nothing on there, but they just kept finding stuff. So, and just like then, you know, they thought that it was an enterprise hack. Maybe it was. And maybe this is an enterprise hack. But the question is,
these guys could have sown mass chaos all over the world. And I think that's the point. I think it's less about theft. It's all about how can you create hysteria? How can you create mass chaos all over the world? And there's a large group of entities in the world that encourage these types of behaviors. I'd rather not accuse Russia or China or whoever. There's lots of groups out there doing immoral behavior. And I think that's my takeaway from this is A, wow, this is a extremely sizable hack. And B, you could have sown havoc around the whole world.
How do you know that that's not coming though? Think about this for a second. What if there's stuff that they got in this treasure trove of data? What if they start doing the WikiLeaks thing of 2016 and start dripping direct messages from Warren Buffett, Joe Biden, Elon Musk, Chrissy Teigen? I mean, it's already happening. You're starting to see Chrissy Teigen, all her stuff starting to come out like crazy, like some weird stuff that she was saying about kids that is, you know, very not kosher.
Yeah, I mean, imagine Trump's account being hacked and telling the whole world about a global security threat. Let's talk about that, all right? It's just like Trump's Twitter account says, warning, security threat imminent on the entire world.
Yeah. Here's the crazy thing.
That's
of all the accounts, they didn't do anything with his. How odd is that?
That's kind of odd.
Yeah, kind of like that red flagged me. I was like, you got all these accounts you can go after, and you decide Kim Kardashian's going to change the world, and you don't touch Donald Trump.
Yeah, I mean, maybe I don't know. Maybe this will encourage more rumors between Trump and Russia or some nonsense like that.
Yeah, that could happen. That could definitely happen. In fact, there's probably going to be, I bet you the media is going to take this story and go in one direction, and that's Russia. They're going to go either Russia or to China. The Republican media is going to start pointing the finger at China and say, oh, China and Joe Biden, China and Joe Biden. And then the CNN, New York Times media, oh, this has got to be part of the Russian thing. Watch, I'm telling you, tomorrow or somewhere in the next couple of days, Nancy Pelosi. Yeah, we have anonymous sources that are telling us that this had something to do with Putin. Putin's name is going to be used a lot with this hack.
This is like a tsunami bell warning for every social media network to strengthen their security.
Oh, absolutely. And here's, you know what this is really saying? We need to have a decentralized Twitter, not a centralized Twitter. The crazy thing is, they literally could have, the state of Illinois, here's one thing that happened. They had a Twitter account that was a verified Twitter account, blue checkmark, that was shut down today during this hack for 4 hours. But they couldn't put out information for tornadoes that were hitting Illinois. That's kind of crazy. That's one instance where Twitter was a needed tool, but that one account was disabled because they had a blue checkmark. And by the way, here's another thing this brings up. What is the value of a blue checkmark anymore?
Honestly, I mean, you know why it was made is like I just did one of these Zoom sessions to discuss the hack with the Malta AIBC Summit with Jessica Walker and Fluffy Pony. And Fluffy Pony, he's a lot cooler than me. He has a blue check mark. The reason why he got a blue check mark is because so many people tried to scam him and they started to create accounts on Twitter, the Fluffy Pony and Fluffy Pony underscore and Fluffy underscore
Shout out to
Pony.
Fluffy Kitten. I used to follow you till I found out you were a scam.
Yeah, see, so there's Fluffy Kitten and Fluffy underscore Pony and Fluffy dot Pony, and they DM you and say, hey bro, send me some Bitcoin, I'm in a really tough situation, my wife just left me, can you help me out, or something like that, some BS. And so he reports it and Twitter says, hey, you're the real Fluffy Pony, here's your check mark. And I bet my life on the fact that Fluffy Pony is using at least two-factor authentication, and ideally even a YubiKey or Google Titan hardware key, which on that note, everybody go out there and buy yourself a Google Titan key. It has a Bluetooth connection. I think it's even better than YubiKey. And if you're running a company, buy your entire company one Google Titan key. It's cheap. Google doesn't have any supply chain issues. I like YubiKey for my personal use and I have one. However, for my whole company, YubiKey has some supply chain issues with shipping all over the world and meeting your timelines. And it doesn't have Bluetooth support. And the new Google Titan key has Bluetooth support. So there you go. This is
shout out to our another not sponsored Google Titan. We'll be contacting you after this video.
yeah. We're not sponsored by either Yubi or Google Titan, but they're both great Titan keys. So, you know, set up your two-factor authentication with a hardware key.
Yeah, but even with that, this had nothing to do with the user doing something. This was at a high level. Now, here's the crazy thing. On the admin screenshots that they shared with the public, interesting stuff that Twitter's got in their admin screenshots. The ability to censor trending information, the ability to shadow ban, all that stuff, just, you know, the stuff that they denied in front of Congress, we all of a sudden saw screenshots and said, oh, did you lie in front of Congress?
Yeah. I mean, wasn't it like less than a couple of weeks ago that Twitter deleted multiple accounts that were releasing hacked info? It was just like 3 weeks ago.
Maybe didn't catch that, but yeah, they've been deleting a lot of stuff. So they deleted some accounts that, for whatever reason, nobody knows why. I think one of the things that's going to come out of this that we should watch for is you're going to see a lot more attention put on Twitter, and you're going to start realizing, you're going to start hearing some political debates challenging their 230 exemption, which would be very difficult for them as a company if all of a sudden they lost that exemption. All of a sudden these lawsuits, these class actions came in and they couldn't hide behind the 230 exemption. And then the other thing I think you're going to see is they might actually fall under the term utility now. And that's what you're going to see, is you're going to see some politicians say, wait a second, this is a utility that the government uses to put out emergency news and information. And that utility needs better security, and needs military security, and needs to fall under DOD. How crazy would that be?
Yeah, that would be crazy. Listen, I got to wrap up and go to my next meeting.
No worries, man. So 3 things that you want to share about this Twitter hack to leave us with. Read Satoshi notes.
Read Satoshi notes. Protect your own security of yourself and your loved ones. You know, buy yourself a hardware key, set up your 2-factor authentication, use VPNs when you're on Wi-Fi. Any apps that you download on your phone, take the time to go through the permissions on what permissions you gave to each and every app on your phone. Don't download just any app, especially in the crypto world. Don't just download any wallet that you see out there. There was an infamous wallet called Shitcoin Wallet that would just steal users' private keys. And you wouldn't believe how many people downloaded this wallet. And if you just Googled shit or any search engine, DuckDuckGo, Google, whatever, not the biggest fan of Google search engine anymore. That's why I said that. You know, you go to DuckDuckGo and you search
Shout out to
Shitcoin
DuckDuckGo,
Wallet.
not our sponsor.
Not our sponsor, but DuckDuckGo, search the name of that wallet and the word scam, and there's lots of info that will come up. So Google the name of apps with the word scam attached to it before you download it. Check your app permissions. Buy a Google Titan key. Use VPNs, and just be smart about these types of things. And then, you know, and if you don't already own Bitcoin, go buy yourself some. And Monero, why not?
All right, so he's Hartej, Sawhney. I'm Chris Champion. If you want to learn how Bitcoin works, there's a link down below where you can buy our masterclass on how Bitcoin works.
Click it.
Click it.
Yep.
All right, say hi to the 2 babies.
Thank you. You can follow me on Twitter. I'm Mr. Hartej on Twitter, Mr. Hartej. Click the link below. Buy Chris's class on how to use Bitcoin. Thank you, Chris Champion, for having me. Much love. I hope to see you very soon.
Got to see you soon. They just shut down more travel bans. They just, like, no one's traveling anywhere in the near future. It's like, how am I going to get to Ukraine? Like, I figured out a plot. I'm going to go to Greece where I can fly in, eat some good food for a couple of days, take some sort of land cruiser, drive up.
No, but Americans are allowed right now in Ukraine, no problem. So you're not allowed in the.
No, they created more travel bans. Yeah, nobody's leaving the country. Like, unless you've got some like second passport, you're like.
So you can't leave the country, but if you were able to leave, the Ukrainian government is currently allowing you in.
Yeah, they're like, come on in.
The EU has banned Americans, so.
Yeah, it's crazy, except for Greece. Got to get into Greece. Shout out to my not sponsor, the country of Greece. But yeah, I'm thinking, like, how am I going to get to Ukraine?
I usually spend the month of August in Greece and Mykonos. That's usually my yearly plan. Not sure if I'm going this year. Mykonos in August. The thing about August is like just such a hot month. It's so hot in New York City. It's so hot all over Europe. But Mykonos has a nice breeze, a cold, cool breeze. And so while the rest of Europe is baking in August, Mykonos is cool. You have this kind of perfect weather, and well, it's kind of an infamous place to go and party for the Burning Man crowd. Ibiza, Mykonos, Tulum, that vibe. It's the trifecta in the summer. And you actually have private jet flights between Mykonos and Ibiza kind of constantly. And it's not your typical private jet that's like really, really expensive. It's more like a shuttle jet that just flies this one airline between Mykonos and Ibiza. But yeah, that's besides the point. Buy Bitcoin, protect your security.
All right, brother. Peace out. Have fun.
Take care.
Have fun with
Bye.
the babies. Have fun with the cat. All right, so hope you enjoyed it. If you like what you're hearing, if you want to subscribe to the channel, that'd be cool. Just smash the subscribe button. And yeah, this Twitter hack is going to be a big story. You're going to see weeks and weeks and weeks of information from this. It'll be interesting how this plays out. All right, I'm Chris. You guys are the best. Appreciate you very much. Much love. Peace out.